Good Wednesday evening, everybody. No technical issues tonight. We're back with Live Weather Impact, and it's a hot day. I mean, I think that's the story of the day here on Live Weather Impact. It's definitely a scorcher. We don't have many storms out there right now, though we do have a giant wasp that keeps going in front of our camera, which I just think of that Simpsons episode where the anchor welcomes his that happens, and what does he say? I welcome our new insect overlords.
I'm just going to storm track with the wasps the whole time. I'm just going to track it with the camera.
I mean, there's so many of them. I mean, when they land right on the camera. But, yeah, it's super muggy out there. It's kind of waspy kind of season out there.
Waspy?
They love this heat and humidity. I mean, and they're searching for water. That's the one thing about those stingers, man. When you've got water nearby, they will go look, because those paper wasps, they like to get some of that to make their nest. So I'll give you a view of our camera. There's our camera. James widened it out for us, our WCNC tower cam. There they are. They're buzzing all over the place. You can see a few clouds out there, but there's a lot of sun. It is a scorcher. I mean, this is a pretty quiet radar for this type of setup. It's mid to upper 90s, hot, humid. Not many storms out there. James just mentioned Raleigh. For the longest time, they got no rain. I think this week has been their week because every night there has been storms over the Raleigh-Durham area. We need something like that for us. We had the Monday night storms over parts of Charlotte, and I will say parts of Charlotte because we did have a flash flood warning in the middle of the night, but it was so isolated. If you lived in the north part of the city or the south, you heard all that thunder, you saw that lightning, but you got very little rain. Who's getting the rain? Blowing Rock. Boone right now. It is right over Blowing Rock, upper Caldwell County. Big time storms moving there just east of Grandfather Mountain. These are moving east towards Fleetwood and Todd as you go up into Ashe County, heading into the Yadkin Valley there. And then up towards Tim's area, they're getting some showers and storms up there. That's been kind of the hot spot. The Virginia-North Carolina border, that's where we're seeing some good rain right now. For us, it is just bone dry, and it's hot. It's 95 degrees here at 6:30. We got up to 96 today. Look at that, 99 in Wadesboro and Sherrill. It got to 100 in Wadesboro today. And I believe that Anson County's having water issues out there. They've got that water main break. So real tough when it's 100 degrees out and you've got water issues out there. Tonight, yeah, I'll keep a small chance, but I'll be honest, I think most areas are going to be completely dry. The story tonight could be, do we drop below 80 degrees before sunrise? Because it's going to be 1, 2 in the morning. We're probably going to still be in the low 80s because of this really sticky air mass. And I'm tempted to raise my lows. 74 might be a little optimistic because I think 78, 77 is doable. And tomorrow, if you love the heat and humidity, another day with temperatures climbing way up into the upper 90s. This has been kind of a crazy hot start to July. Even by July standards, we are trending towards the hottest start to the month on record. Rainfall-wise, not much out there. Tomorrow looks super isolated again in the afternoon. Friday, super isolated. But Saturday, there's hints of maybe a better chance of afternoon, evening storms. Again, no washouts, but certainly it looks like more organization to the pattern as we get into the weekend. Just to give you an idea, this graphic here is a nutshell of what pop-up storms are. Look at Morganton, 2.04, and Charlotte, 0.05. And again, those numbers, that's not exactly what's going to happen. We're not that good, but it kind of tells you the sporadic nature of the type of showers and storms we're going to see over the next 3 days. The heat, to me, is the story the next 3 days because it's not going to be crazy hot like it was last week, but if it wasn't for last week, this would be a pretty hot stretch. We're talking mid to upper 90s, a lot of major, even some extreme heat. There's heat advisories still in effect in eastern parts of North Carolina and South Carolina. But this weekend, big changes. We're looking at 50-60% chance of afternoon, evening storms Saturday, Sunday. But on top of that, it's actually going to get noticeably cooler. We're talking highs only in the upper 80s to near 90, which is a big change from the mid to upper 90s. You're talking a 10-degree drop in some of these locations for the weekend. Rain chances, though, I think the mountains and foothills are going to see the best rain chances. Northwest Piedmont, Charlotte South might be kind of missing out on a lot of this, but this is good news for our water supply. Those are the areas that the Catawba River Basin gets drained into. So that's the basin. That's where we want to see the rain. That's the headwaters of all our lakes and streams, which supplies water here to Charlotte. Now, this weekend, rain chances ramp up. You see that coverage. You think, oh, great, I have no outdoor plans. It'll be okay for the first half of the day. Remember, we can't get a lot of pop-up storms unless we get some sunshine and some heat. So the first half of the day is probably going to be pretty dry, but then after 3 or 4 o'clock every day, it's probably going to get pretty active, and that's kind of reflected in our Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day. Notice Sunday, Monday, upper 80s, so significantly cooler by summer standards because our averages are 70 and 90, especially Monday. If it's 67, 87, that's 3 degrees below average for both the high and low. That's pretty significant. But, and there's a big but here, next week, 10-day forecast, the heat starts to crank back up, and this is all going to be hinging on that heat dome in the middle of the country. Does it spread east at some point? We're probably going to be on the edge of it, and so there is some uncertainty on the amount of heating next week, but also the storm chance, because if we're on the edge of that ridge, there's a chance we could get into a pretty good storm track. I'm sure we'll talk about all this. Got some tornado footage out of China to share with you, and a couple other things coming up after the break as Tim Buckley joins me right here on Live Weather Impact, so stick around.
Weather Impact Live with Brad Panovich is sponsored by Moisture Lock, crawl space, basement, and foundation repair experts serving the Carolinas since 1988.
Tired of all this rain? Does your yard look like a swamp after it rains? Hi, I'm Greg Doggett with Moisture Lock, Charlotte's premier waterproofing and foundation repair company. The longer water sits, the softer soil will become. This can cause foundation issues. If you're having drainage issues, contact Moisture Lock. We'll get the water away from your home and out of your yard.
Moisture Lock, stabilize, enhance, protect.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Tim Buckley joins me. You can see him right below me and off to screen right. That is currently Raleigh, Tim, and James and I were just joking. After what seemed like weeks of them not getting a drop of rain, this week has been their week for some reason. They are just, every day it seems like storms are hitting the Raleigh-Durham area. And when you look at that DOT camera, that is crazy, but the radar is even wilder. We've got outflow boundaries and lightning, and I mean, it's just crazy. And it's rush hour there, so I could just imagine the chaos going on in the Raleigh-Durham area right now.
Their bubble has burst.
Yeah.
They talk about their bubble a lot, maybe more than anybody, but it seems like it is not in effect anymore. And you can see there's another outflow boundary coming their way. I wonder how that'll impact things as well. But it seems, Brad, for one reason or another this week, that's kind of, I don't know what the trigger is over there. We talk about the Piedmont Trough sometimes.
Yeah.
There are some soil differences in that part of the state that can cause these things. But, hey, they're cashing stepping in, and they need to, because the drought is just as bad there as it is anywhere in the state.
Wow, 333 lightning strikes in the last 15 minutes there.
Oof.
Just, I mean, that's, and the camera just blows my mind. I mean, it looks like a whiteout. You could see the sheets of rain going side to side there. It kind of gives you an idea of how heavy that rain is.
There are numerous other cameras that are in whiteout condition.
Yeah.
I chose this camera because you can actually see a little bit, but there are other areas where the drivers are completely whited out.
Yeah, and I will give good kudos to those drivers. I don't see a lot of hazard lights on, Tim, which is my biggest pet peeve when it's raining heavily and people just throw their hazards on. They don't know how. Oh, there's someone. I just spoke too soon. But it's so annoying because it's funny. You see people with hazards on and they don't have their regular lights on, which is like way more important in the middle of a rain. Remember, the state law is wipers on, lights on, and I know everyone's got these automatic lights on and they have daytime running lamps. You almost have to physically turn your lights on when it's raining in the middle of the day because it might be too bright for them to come on. But I wish the car manufacturers would just have that auto feature where, like, if your wipers are going on, that all your lights just come on, Tim.
That always made sense to me. I wondered why they don't do that, or if there's a reason that makes sense.
Yeah.
But you're right about the flashers. If you have your flashers on and you're on a 4-lane interstate like that, you're going to have to switch lanes at some point. And if the flashers are on, we don't know that you're switching lanes.
Yeah.
Because that just doesn't help. So that's not fun. If you're in that situation, we talk about snow driving. This kind of driving is difficult as well. And the hydroplaning is a risk.
Yeah.
It's just not a fun situation. So definitely feel for those folks right now.
Yeah, and one of the things I'm a big proponent of this, and probably from my storm chasing days, have good wipers and get either a Rain-X or ceramic coating or something on your windshield that repels water. I can tell you that makes all the difference in the world when you get into one of these deluges. And I think what happens, a lot of people haven't touched their wipers probably ever, and they don't put stuff on their windshield. And it gets really hard to see in these downpours, Tim. So if you do that, trust me, on a dry day you won't notice it, but when you get into a downpour, boy, that is going to make a huge difference.
Yeah, Rain-X kind of doesn't make sense. It's kind of like magic. When you have it, you almost can't believe how well it works. But you almost don't need windshield wipers. After you apply that good coating to your windshield, works on any car. It's like $5 to buy it at the store. It's really good stuff.
Yeah. So you've got lucky too, Tim. Not as much as Raleigh, but you guys have had some decent storms up your way. It's kind of an interesting pattern today. We've got some good storms back into the mountains. You guys are seeing a couple storms. There's a ton in Raleigh. And then down here in the southern Piedmont into the upstate of South Carolina, there's barely a cloud in the sky. There's definitely some kind of sinking air going on. And I can actually tell you the dew points, while I wouldn't call them low, they're in the mid to upper 60s. They kind of mixed out a little bit. So there's definitely some kind of drying suppression going on down our way. But up your way, there's like a front or a boundary and some moisture that's definitely helping the storm stay active up there.
We've had a couple storm clusters. We had one earlier that kind of dropped south from Danville, Virginia, and kind of rolled down a couple counties. Then we had some over on Mount Airy that kind of spawned off some additional ones. So the one we're watching that's about to get ready to come toward Greensboro, that kind of formed off of that outflow. So it's all these little chain reactions that, you light one match or you put down one domino and you kind of see where the pieces fall. That's kind of where we've been seeing them start from in our northern counties, and then they've kind of been propagating from there. So we're watching this one that's in Guilford now, or at least approaching Guilford County. It really kind of bears watching because you can see it kind of taking on this little kidney bean shape here.
Yeah.
There's a decent amount of lightning that wasn't there 20 minutes ago. There is some wind energy with it. So I think that'll be something that's worth watching if you're in anywhere north of I-40 in Greensboro. That's going to be the direction as it just kind of passes on the north side of town. It could grow a lot in size. These things can really intensify pretty quickly, so I think a lot of people welcome it. They want the rainfall, whatever it takes. We'll see how strong it ends up being, but it's coming right for us in Greensboro, so we have something to track for the next 20 minutes.
Yeah, and there's a special weather statement out for that cell. They've got it pegged at 40 miles per hour, so some winds in there. So that's, it's a good, and the lightning, like you said, that's one of the things you can always tell, there's no criteria for severe weather and lightning. We were debating that in our office. I wish there was some way to quantify that for severe weather and stuff. But one thing we noticed, Tim and I, when we see a jump in lightning, you usually know the updraft is getting pretty mature. You're getting a good updraft, and that's usually a sign that the storm is at least intensifying. And as we say often, what goes up has to come down. When you get a strong updraft, you're going to get some strong downdraft or collapse of the storm at some point. So that's a good little sell in Forsyth heading into Guilford County. And it has been interesting to see the pattern today, Tim, of kind of all around the area, but not so much to the south. I am quite curious. What was your high today? Because it was really hot down here. We got to 96 today, and I'm really wondering how cool it's going to get tonight. Did you guys get up into the 90s again today?
We did, and I kind of busted my forecast. I thought it would be about 90, 91, and we got all the way up to 94.
Wow.
So something happened today. It's still really hot. It was 94 20 minutes ago, actually. Now It's 86, so we're getting that outflow from the storm. But yeah, it's really toasty. The humidity dropped a little bit today, Brad. I wonder if that has something to do with it. But
yeah.
It's still difficult out there, and it will be through Friday, it looks like. But maybe some relief after that.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see if we get this relief this weekend. I was looking at the stretch of weather we've had, and I'll bring up the graphic real quickly. That's the next 7 days. Let me go back the past 7 days to kind of show you what we've had here, because today we got up to 96, and I talked about this yesterday. We broke our string of days in a row above 95 plus, but if we look back at the next 7 days, and just remember, we got up to 96 today. This is the past 7 days in Charlotte. So 96 today, yesterday was 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99. I mean, even by July standards, that is a hot stretch of weather. And I'll be honest, I'm looking forward to some cooler weather this weekend, Tim, which is pretty interesting because I think we're going to have a decent chance of rain. I don't want to jinx it because I haven't had any rain in my house this week. I don't know what it is. I'm in one of those bubbles this week that everyone complains about. But a lot of folks are in the same boat. But what I think is really fascinating about this weekend, Tim, is it looks noticeably cooler Sunday and Monday. We might even have some northeast winds at one point. This is a pretty rare setup for at least 2 days coming up late this weekend.
It's a pretty good cold front. It's a good summer cold front, it looks like. Now, sometimes these can be mirages. They look good a couple days ahead of time, and they kind of stop short. So there's a little trepidation with it as we talk about it here. But it does look good, I think, and maybe part of the reason for that might be, we're building such a big ridge in the middle of the country. We're going to talk about a heat dome for the Dakotas. We talked about that yesterday. Well, if you have a big up in one part of the jet stream, there could be another dip elsewhere, and that could be on the East Coast. There's a pretty good high coming into the Northeast, and they're going to be nice and cool and crisp for this time of year. It's just a question of how far south does it make it down the coast. Does it get all the way through the Carolinas, or does it stop at Greensboro, or does it stop at Columbia? I think that's a little bit of a detail we don't know just yet, but I'm optimistic that we could have dew points in the 60s early next week.
I mean, that sounds amazing, and I'm just looking forward to a little bit
Maybe
of break.
even 50s.
I'll be honest, this heat is starting to wear on a lot of folks here. It's just been a long stretch of really hot, humid weather. And the nighttime lows, Tim, I think not enough gets attributed to how warm it's been at night lately. And I was on Charlotte Talks, our local NPR affiliate here, talking about this today. And, we talk about heat waves all the time. And I think there's so much focus on the afternoon highs for good reason. That's the part of the day people are out and about. But one of the biggest problems as far as cooling and, people without proper cooling is when it doesn't cool down at night, Tim, it makes it really difficult to kind of catch up and catch your breath. Your HVAC system can't really, cool your house down. If your low is like 78, 77, 79, you're not even getting relief in the middle of the night. And that's been kind of what we've seen during this heat wave. It's been incredibly warm, not just by day, but at night as well.
It has. I know we're at about 12 days in a row above 70. I'm sure it's longer down there, but it doesn't give you the relief. Even if you just have to take the dog out or go for the morning run or something, you don't really have a good time of day to be refreshed. It might not be as hot, but it still kind of just feels sticky and gross. There's not really a good way to avoid it right now, and it's the Carolinas in the summertime, so we're not surprised by it. But we can still complain about how it feels. It's not good.
Yeah, there's a reason, people talk about the dog days of summer, which is always fun to talk about because, that term, I think people always think it's later in the year. It got its name from the Sirius star, the dog star. And ancient people thought that was an extra heat source, another sun. And so that really starts in June and goes into middle of August. But I think when I think of weather-wise, I think of this as the dog days of summer where it's just hot and humid every day and you're kind of starting to get a little tired of it. And we better get used to it because it's only, it's July 8th. We've got a long ways to go, Tim.
We do. It's been a hot summer, and like we said, we're only about halfway through. So buckle up. It'll be done eventually, but we got a ways to go.
Yeah, so you mentioned that big ridge out west. I want to talk a little bit national news because I think this has not been covered as much as we probably have even here locally, but we've had a lot of wildfires out west, Tim, in parts of Utah and Colorado. In fact, my good friend works in Colorado Springs. There's a massive fire, and we talk about some of the fires here locally. This Aspen Acres fire, which is near Pueblo, is almost 10,000 acres, but this fire is the one in Utah, Tim. And look at this. Rachel got this. I got to kudos to Rachel, our intern, for pulling this out. But this is a time lapse. Look at this pyrocumulus cloud. The fire itself is producing such a strong heated updraft that a thunderstorm type cloud is forming above it. It's just amazing to see this.
Really is, and these happen in wildfires, and that is the name for it, pyrocumulus. And you can get thunder and lightning to form out of these things, so they can kind of create their own weather, so to speak. But talk about a dramatic view. I mean, you can see the smoke billowing from the tops of the mountains out there. I have some family that just moved out to Salt Lake City, actually, and they're from Pennsylvania. They've lived in D.C., they've lived in Virginia, and they're like, Tim, what did we do? What are we dealing with out here? Because the fires have been a really big problem.
Yeah, what a beautiful area of the country too. And I'm looking at our fire map here from Watch Duty, and it's amazing the number of fires in Utah and especially Colorado. And we're talking 90, 80, 100,000 acre fires, lots of evacuations. I don't remember what fire that was, Rachel. Do you remember which fire it was?
I'm not sure, but I think it was the one that was only about 13% contained. So they have not really gotten a hold on these giant wildfires that are burning through Colorado and Utah still.
Yeah, I'm looking at that. Must be that Babylon fire. I mean, looking at the terrain, that would make sense. But the biggest fire right now, and I'm looking at this, the Aspen Acres one, huge evacuations going. This is not too far from Colorado Springs, the Air Force Academy out that way. 96,000 acres. I mean, and it doesn't look like it's under control at all. I'm trying to look at only 15% contained too. That's just crazy. So yeah, those fires, and unfortunately, Tim, in the summer with that ridge building out there, I don't know if there's a whole lot of relief coming to that part of the country. And for us, you're probably saying, well, why do we care? At some point, depending on the upper level flow, all that smoke ends up here at some point. So we'll have to watch that over the next couple of weeks to see if we end up getting a bunch of wildfire smoke at some point, maybe going up and over the ridge and back here into the Carolinas.
It can. It's been a couple years removed from us dealing with all those Canadian wildfire smoke problems. And, it doesn't sound like much until you get into it. That was not fun. And a lot of people had it worse than we did. But that air quality business, that's not something you really want to get into. So hopefully they get those under control, or, at minimum, it doesn't head our way all that much. You mentioned Colorado there, Brad. We did get word from the hurricane capital of the world, Colorado State University.
Yeah.
Which we like to joke about. But they revised their forecast today, didn't they?
Yeah.
And actually revised it downward from their already pretty low forecast for the season.
Yeah, I was pretty stunned by this. I mean, I think that's a strong signal that the El Nino, which is developed already, is really playing a big part in this. But also, if you've looked at any of the Sahara dust layer, I've seen a lot of people posting about it.
Yeah.
The combination of wind shear and that much dust out in the Atlantic, you're not going to get anything to develop. But yeah, it's been a long time, Tim, since I've seen single-digit forecast for named storms. I mean, it's been a while. Last year, the 13 named storms total, 5 hurricanes, 4 of them major. Their forecast is down to 9 named storms, 4 hurricanes, and only 1 major. That's pretty significant.
It really is, and I believe it includes Arthur too, which is already.
So it already includes 1 storm.
Only 8 to come. I mean, we'd like that, I suppose. We'd love to get some tropical rain if we can, but it just goes to show you this really could be a record-breaking El Nino, as we keep on talking about later on in the year. It's already formed, of course, but it does play a big role on the hurricane season. And whenever you're doing seasonal forecasts, a strong El Nino kind of brings the biggest signal out of any type of pattern you could see. And they're buying into it. So we'll see how it pans out once we get to August and September. July being quiet is nothing really all that unusual.
And this is where I always give the disclaimer, Tim. Even though, like we said, 8 storms more, I always think of 1992. 7 total storms, Tim. And what was the first storm and one of the biggest storms of all time that year? Hurricane Andrew. It only takes one. I always got to say that was a very low season as well. But one of the storms happened to be a Category 5 that hit Florida and don't forget Louisiana. So that was a significant season.
Yeah, it sure was. It sounds cheesy and corny, and it is, but it's true. Only one storm, whether it's Andrew, Chantal, whatever the case, it only matters if you get a storm to you at home.
Yeah, and all for our space lovers, before we run out of time here, Tim, I'm glad you brought this up and showed the map here. We've got a rocket launch tomorrow, and I did confirm, Tim, as you correctly noted, the countdown clock looked kind of weird when you looked at the countdown. The new start time is 5:25 a.m., not 5:05 a.m. So they already pushed it back, which could be a good thing or a bad thing, because it's still way before sunrise. But if it gets pushed back again and gets too close to sunrise, we might have a problem. So the new launch window for the Falcon 9 tomorrow is 5:25 a.m. to 9:05. But Tim, that pre-sunrise launch, which sunrise here I think locally is around 6:15ish, could get that illuminated vapor trail, which could look spectacular. And we'll get tons of emails and messages. What is that in the sky tomorrow morning?
Looks like a jellyfish. We've started calling them jellyfish clouds. We didn't used to have these things, so to me, jellyfish cloud is a new term, and it's a fun one, and it's a cool thing to see. So if you're up early, we hope you'll look east and try and catch a look at this, probably around 5:30, 5:25.
Yeah, so usually like 4 or 5 minutes after lunch, we'll probably get a good view. That's a view last time it happened from our Lylesville camera, just for folks. So if you see that tomorrow morning, aliens are not invading. That is just a Falcon 9 launch going up the East Coast. All right, thanks for joining everybody tonight. We got 5 seconds. We're out of time, Tim. We'll see you guys back here tomorrow as we stay cool in this heat and humidity.